Welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Training Bytes, everyone's favorite subject, physical inventory, right? Because it's the end of the year. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat window in the Ring Central toolbar, and we will have a Q&A at the end, and I'll answer any questions you have. My name's Gina Thomas. I'm the training manager here at C&K Systems and your hostess of Training Bytes, a digestible approach to Counterpoint training. And of course, today's subject is physical inventory. So why count? Good question. Over time, your inventory quantities are going to be incorrect, mainly due to mistakes in processing transactions like sales, receiving, adjustments, transfers. And if your inventory quantities are incorrect, then your value is incorrect, the valuation of your inventory. Another good reason to count is to target or find your high shrink items or high shrink areas of the store. So maybe you can come up with a different merchandising strategy to reduce the theft of those items or in those areas. So during this session, we're going to talk about preparing for a physical inventory inside of the software and outside of the software. We're going to talk about the actual physical inventory steps and then how to run a physical inventory report once the physical inventory has been posted. So just some basic best practices based on my experience in retail and my experience working with retailers. Prepare and organize the store, including your stockroom. Make sure it's labeled to identify the product. Process your mark out of stocks. So if you collect up your damaged goods for doing adjustments once a week or once a month, you want to just go ahead and get those done so they're out of your inventory. And holds, and I'm not talking about holds in Counterpoint. I'm talking about physical holds in your back room. Either get them back out to the floor or know that they have to be counted. Best practice, supreme best practice, is to perform your counting either before the store opens or after closing. And that's for a few reasons. One, to get the most accurate inventory possible, which is a very good reason. The other one is more from a practical standpoint, but still speaks to accuracy. So if you're open for business while you're counting, there's a chance that a customer can take an item from a section of the store that you've already counted and move that item to another section of the store that hasn't been counted. So it gets counted twice. Or the opposite. A customer is in the section of the store that hasn't been counted. They pick up an item and they move the item to a section of the store that has been counted. So that item would miss being counted. So lots of good arguments for staying closed or performing the count when you are closed. Just a helpful hint, if you have more than one store, each store has a work group, because a work group is like saying what store do you belong to. So if you are counting for the main, log into the main work group. If you're counting for your east location, then log into the east work group. That way, everything in the physical inventory module defaults to that particular store. That way, it's just less thinking involved. So just log into the work group that you're counting. My advice, based on my experience in retail, is to make a map of the store and to number the fixtures and put fixture tags on the fixtures itself. This, main reason is so I keep track of what I have and haven't counted. But there's a more practical reason that I'll tell you while you're looking at my beautiful sample map. More practical reason, again, it speaks to accuracy. So before my people actually go and count my fixtures, I'm going to go out and I'm going to pre-count. And on the back of my fixture tag, I'm going to write down my pre-count count. So when my associates are done counting that particular fixture, they can compare their count to my count. And if there's a discrepancy, we've got it isolated down to this one fixture. So again, just speaking to accuracy. A few more best practices, because I'm just so full of advice this afternoon. For some reason, I get people that want to make their inventory a zero value before they actually count, which I don't understand and I don't see the point. The whole point of doing physical inventory is to get correct numbers, regardless of what they are right now. And if you want to start with zero, you'll never get an accurate measure of your shrinkage, your overs, your shorts. So I don't recommend zeroing out the inventory. Something that is just a misunderstanding due to a word, and the word I'm going to throw out there is frozen. I'm going to talk about it a couple of times. After you do your create step in Counterpoint, and you look at a worksheet or you look at an edit list, you see this column called frozen with a number. So when you did your create step, Counterpoint took a snapshot of the inventory as it stands at that very moment in time. And those are the numbers you see under frozen. But it's very misleading. People literally think the inventory is frozen. It's not. It's just a snapshot from the create step. So when you see that column, just kind of mentally replace the word frozen with snapshot. Your inventory is not frozen. We don't recommend, matter of fact, I advise against, remember I mentioned earlier, stay closed, no selling, no receiving, no transfers, no inventory adjustments while you're counting. If you want to make a PO, be my guest. If you want to run some reports, that's just fine. No transactions. And I always recommend getting a refresher training. We only do inventory maybe once or twice a year, right? It's easy to forget the steps. And not that inventory is hard, it's boring, but it's not hard. But if you don't do the steps in the correct order, you're not going to get an accurate inventory. So get the refresher training, it's worth it. I want to talk to you about the actual math Counterpoint is doing when you post the inventory. And again, we're going to come back to that word frozen. Okay, remember the snapshot. So what Counterpoint does when you're posting is it looks at that frozen value, it looks at the variance, and it does the math. So in this example, 10 minus 4, because that was my variance since I counted 6, 10 minus 4 equals 6. So 6 will be my new on hand. This is why you shouldn't sell, receive, or do transfers or inventory adjustments during the counting process, because Counterpoint is going to use this exact math. So in this scenario, when I did my create step, I had 10. Stays 10 here in the physical inventory module. Now I sell one, so I really only have 9. At the end of the day, when I post, Counterpoint doesn't see that one I sold. It doesn't update that frozen number. That frozen number stays as it was when we did the create step. So again, a good argument for not selling, receiving, or transferring or adjusting during the counting process. To prepare for the inventory inside of Counterpoint, we make sure all our transactions are posted. And I'm talking receiving, adjustments, for quick assemblies if you use them. And the best place to look for those unposted transactions is in the Work Center. So if you go to System, Work Center, this screen will load. And you'll see purchasing documents in here. We don't care about those because purchasing has no effect on inventory. We want to focus on receiving, transfers, adjustments, and quick assemblies if you use them. And we'll actually take a look a little bit later. You want to make sure all your sales are posted. So unposted sales don't land in the Work Center. You actually have to go run a report called the ticket edit list. In most installs, it lives under point of sale, tickets, edit list. Now, it may be in a different position in your install, but I'll show you how to find it. All you're going to do is click on the edit list, click on preview, and what you want to make sure is that it's blank. Because if you see sales in the edit list, they're unposted sales, and they need to be posted before you start the inventory. And then little more preparation just to make sure that everything's nice and clean and accurate. You want to make sure there aren't any old inventory files laying around, because that will really get in your way. So the best way to check that is to actually go to Inventory, Physical Count, Remove. This is the happy message you're looking for. It means there's nothing here. But if a different screen pops up, you're going to have to work with it. And we'll actually see an example of that when we get into the software. So basically, when you do an inventory, no matter how you're doing the inventory, whether it's manual or you have a third party counting or you're using handheld devices, everything starts with a create step. We need to take the snapshot of that inventory. You can optionally print these official count worksheets if you're doing manual, but you can use pencil and paper too. If you're doing a manual inventory, you'll go into enter to enter your counts. If you're using handheld devices or you're doing imports, you can actually go into enter to correct counts. So there are some solutions for entering counts that I just kind of mentioned, like handhelds. There's 2B and CP Mobile. They are both devices where you can scan and export those counts directly into Counterpoint. 2B uses a dedicated device. CP Mobile will run on any iOS device, iPod, iPad, iPhone. And so if you want to know some pricing about all of these, availability, just give your sales manager or your account manager a call. There's a real low-tech, low-cost solution to inventory. If you don't have handheld scanners, you don't want to use paper and pencil, you can't afford a third party, you can actually take a point of sale scanner, the one that's attached to your point of sale machine where you scan barcodes. You can take that and attach it to a laptop or a PC, open up Excel, scan all your counts to the Excel spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet can be imported into Counterpoint. Of course, you can have a third-party company come count, Regis or Washington. And as I mentioned earlier, you can use pencil and paper. I wanted to give you a screenshot of what 2B and CP Mobile look like. The 2B screen is on the left. The CP Mobile screen is on the right. And if you are using 2B or CP Mobile, please keep your scanning windows down to 30 minutes in between exports. Or my motto is, scan for as long as you're willing to rescan. But 30 minutes is what I recommend. Then there's a question of timing. Time is the create step because the create step is essential. It has to be done. So if you have 2B and scanning your back room, that's fine. Go ahead and start scanning. But you must do a create step before you export from 2B over to Counterpoint. It's a black and white rule. In CP Mobile, you cannot start scanning until the create step is done in Counterpoint, because it's from the create step in Counterpoint that CP Mobile knows about what you want to scan. So the create has to be done first before you scan in CP Mobile. If you're importing from Excel or you're using a third-party company, the create step needs to be done before you import from Excel or before you import the file from a third company party. So you can see create is an essential part and timing is important. When you're done entering your counts, you're going to want to run a report to review your counts. You can run this report anytime, as much as you like. It doesn't change anything. It's called the edit list, and it's basically a report of the items you have counted but have not yet posted. And it's under inventory physical count edit list. My recommendation is to make the print quantity. Let's see if I can get my little annotator out here so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's go with this guy. Okay, so right here where it says print quantity, I would choose frozen actual counts variance. It's just a nice complete picture of the snapshot and what you actually counted and the over short. I would also include uncounted items, so you can see if you missed, sections of the inventory. And I would also print variances for uncounted items, and I would group the report by category. Okay, so you can run that report as often as you like, or if you don't run it and you don't plan on running it during the inventory, that's fine, but please do run it before you post. You're looking for things that jump off the page because once you post, it's a done deal. We can't unpost a posted physical inventory file. So it's too late to make corrections within the physical inventory once you post. But until you post, if you find things that you need to recount and update, you still can. Now, when you're posting, you're finalizing the inventory. When you post, your new on hand is going to be created based on the math. It's super important. Make sure you're in the right location. Don't put a date in the posting date field. Just use the freeze date always. And here's something I wish I could change as a default. The default here in this box is skip. What you want is assume quantity counted as 0. And that is a very scary statement. Here's what it means. If a quantity field is blank, it's because the item wasn't counted. And the item wasn't counted because there aren't any. Yeah, the item's in our inventory, but we don't have any. So what that switch does is it treats any blank quantity field as a 0. So that way, if you had a value for an item you didn't count, its new on hand will become 0. At the end of the day, you should have no negatives in your inventory as long as you're choosing this correct setting. After the inventory is posted, you'll get a pop-up saying, oh, do you want to look at the report? And sometimes if you're doing like an overnight inventory, you're too tired to look at the report right now, you can always come in the next day, next week, next month, and find the report. It's an inventory, reports, history, physical count history. You'll just come to this event number lookup, and the top event will be your most recent inventory. But you'll see a file in the event lookup for every inventory that's ever been completed in Counterpoint. In case you want to compare this year numbers to last year numbers. Okay, let's just get into the software and take a look at all this. Now, I mentioned in the beginning that if you have multiple stores, you want to log into the work group that corresponding to your count. And I just want to show you what that looks like. Because a lot of times, you might not notice this. So here's my splash screen. Now, in my install, I have a main store and I have an east store. So my work group 1 is my main store, and my work group 2 represents my east store. But by choosing these work groups, anything you do in Counterpoint is just automatically going to default to the correct location, the correct store. So again, just less you have to think about, less you have to worry about. Okay, so the first thing we want to do inside the software is make sure transactions are posted, right? So I said that lived under System, Work Center. And this Work Center always takes a moment to load. And because I signed into Work Group 1, which represents my main store, you can see that the Work Center defaults to the documents in this work group. I don't care about the purchasing documents because they don't have any effect on inventory. But I do care about this. Here's an inventory adjustment that was never posted. So if you see an inventory adjustment in here, you see a receiving document in here, you see transfers, these are unposted documents. That's why they're here. If you want to look at one of these documents, well, I can see it's a receiving created on 11/23, but what is it? What's on it? You can actually click on this link here to actually go look at the document. This is a handy little resource, even outside of physical inventory. This is just kind of a great audit place to make sure people are posting. So then you can here look at the actual receiving. You can see the items that were on it, and you can either choose to post it or delete it, either one. Now, if just simply looking at the list, oops, my scroll bar went up. If simply by looking at the list, you know that you want this receiving posted, maybe you remember the person working on it, you can actually post from the Work Center itself. So if you just highlight the line you want to post and come over here and just click on Post Documents, it'll give you a confirmation. And this is a message I gave myself. Are you sure you want to post all sales? I'm not posting sales. Okay, and then it's asking me if I want to report. So Work Center is pretty cool. You can find unposted documents and actually work on the documents from the Work Center itself. You can actually even create new documents in the Work Center. It's kind of like a one-stop shop. It's pretty cool. Right. The other thing we want to make sure is posted are our sales. We don't want to do the create step with any unposted sales hanging around. And so I mentioned the edit list, the ticket edit list. Now, in my install, the ticket edit list is here under point of sale, tickets edit list, but yours might be somewhere else. So if you can't find the ticket edit list, do this. This little magnifying glass up here at the top, people overlook this. It's really a nice feature in this version. Just click on the magnifying glass and just type edit list. With that, you get a list of every edit list in Counterpoint, but we're looking for the ticket edit list. And you can see here it's under point of sale tickets. And you can actually click on it right from here too. And it'll take you right in there, right into that report. Now, when the report screen loads, there's nothing fancy you need to do here. You just want to make sure the report is blank. That's all you're looking for. Is it a blank report? So click on preview. Uh-oh, this is not blank. So this means I have unposted sales. So I have to post the sales. I can either go into, let me exit from there. So most of you should know how to post, but just, as a quick reminder, the way I'm configured, if I go to point of sale tickets, here's my posting button here. If I can't find it, I can sit with the magnifying glass, or you can go to drawers and drawer management and just post your active drawer from there. I like drawer management. It's also like a nice one-stop shop. So there I am posting my sales. Okay. So now when I run the edit list, it's going to be blank. Look at all those pop-ups I'm getting. So I'll just rerun that just to show you what a blank report looks like. A lot of times when I'm working with people and we're checking the edit list, we end up finding sales that are months old that never posted for some reason. So if you run into a situation like that, they're not posting for a reason, and you're probably going to need technical help to get them to post. So you'll probably need to log a ticket. Okay, so we check the Work Center. We check the point of sale edit list. So the next little piece of housekeeping we need to do is to make sure there aren't any old physical inventory files laying around. So I'm going to go to inventory, and I'm going to go to physical count, and I'm going to come down here to remove. And if I get this window, it means there's something here that's not posted, like an old physical inventory file. So if I go into this event number lookup, well, there it is right there. And I don't want this file here. I don't know who created it or what time they created it. I want to start fresh. So I'm going to get rid of this file. And, sometimes when I'm working with people, we come in here and we find files that are like years old and multiples of them. So do check this. So I'm just going to remove it. It tells me it's been removed. And just to make sure everything is really gone, I'm going to come back here. Uh-oh, bad news. So if I go into the event number lookup, oh, it didn't remove it. Let's try that again. Oh, yeah, it did. But I don't know why I know why it's seeing that. Okay, so if you get this window and you go into this lookup and this is blank, that means there are some rogue counts that somebody manually entered without doing a create step that you need to manually delete from physical count enter. So if I come into physical count enter, here's my main location. But see how I don't have any arrows here? There's nothing here. There's absolutely nothing here that's not posted. So let me check another location. So I'm just going to check this location. See how there's black arrows? So it just means that somebody came directly into enter without doing a create step, found an item and maybe saved it or put a count on it, who knows. But we need to make these go away. The easiest way to do that is to come to the table view. And you can actually, oh my goodness, I have a lot of these here. You can actually bulk delete in almost any table view in Counterpoint. It's super easy. Hold down your Shift key, hold down your down arrow. You'll notice the little dots in the margin, and all my lines are turning yellow. Fortunately, I only have a couple hundred lines, so this won't take too long. But I have worked with people that have had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these rogue counts, as I call them. All right, I'm just going to click on the X on the toolbar. Apparently, I only have 84 items. Well, somebody's mad. Counterpoint. Let's double check here. So I'm still going to get this screen because I couldn't get rid of those locations. Let me show you what it looks like when it really is working and Gina hasn't mucked with the data. So I'm just going to come down here. I'll just launch this older version. It's the same process, just looks different. Happy people in retail in the old version. So typically when you go to remove, the happy message you should see is that. That means there's nothing here. There's no old files. There's no rogue counts. All right, so we're ready to start. That's such good news. So I'm just going to start at the beginning. Inventory, physical count. I'm going to give you the big picture view. Step one is to create. Takes a snapshot of the inventory. Optionally, you can use the official worksheets or you can use pencil and paper, doesn't matter. If you're doing a manual count, enter, physical count enters where you enter the counts. If you're using handhelds, this is where the counts land. If you're importing from Excel, this is where the counts land. And that's important to know because if you need to correct a count, whether it came from a handheld or an import or it's manual, you're also going to come in here to correct counts. Physical count import is only used if you're doing an Excel spreadsheet or you have a third-party company. So if you're doing manual or you're using handhelds, you don't need this step at all. You won't use it. The physical count edit list is that report I was telling you about of the frozen, the snapshot, what you actually counted in the variance. And so you're looking for trouble, things that don't look right. And if something needs to be recounted, you're not going to use handheld devices or spreadsheets. You're just going to go fingers, toes, pencil, paper, whatever you need. So if the recount is different than the actual physical count, come back here to enter to fix it. The final step is to post. Once you post, it's a done deal. Once you post, we cannot unpost. Okay, so I'm going to start with create. I'm going to click on create. Make sure you're in the right location. But again, because I signed into my work group 1, Counterpoint knows I'm working at the main. And it just defaults to that. For a wall-to-wall inventory, that means you're counting everything. Leave this filter blank. Don't put anything in it. And I have some people that for some reason come over here and they put the date of their last inventory. What you're doing by putting a date there is you're telling Counterpoint to only take a snapshot of the items you counted on that day. So don't put a date here. Leave this filter blank. And so now I'm going to click on create. And we're going to see a real fast progress bar because I have so few items. So there's create. So mine goes really fast. If you have, let's say, 10,000 items, that's going to take a little bit longer than mine. If you, maybe it'll take 5 minutes. If you have, 40, 50, 60,000, might take 10, 15 minutes. All right. You may or may not get this message at the end of create. Whether you get it or not, the answer is no. Because if you answer yes to this, it's going to print the official worksheets in item number order, and really makes no sense because people typically don't merchandise that way, typically merchandise by category. So we can actually dictate how the worksheet will print by saying no to this. So we're going to say no. And then we're going to close out of the create window. So if you choose to use the official worksheets, this is where you come to print them. The order by, you're going to change this. Most people order by category or item. I have some people that order by vendor because they merchandise by vendor, but I'm going to order by category item. This print quantity, there's really only two choices here, even though you see multiple choices. None and frozen. Let me show you what none looks like. So this is a worksheet where none is the print quantity. So I'm going to click on preview. So you can see, there's an item number, there's a description. This is a gridded item, so it's giving me my style matrix where I can enter my counts. You can also enter a total count, of all sizes, colors combined if you wanted to. And checked by is, who checked your work. And I want to go to the next page so we can just see a regular item. There we go. This is what regular items, non-gridded items look like. Again, item number, you even see the category, the retail, a place to count, and someone to check it. Now, let me show you the other way to run this. So the other choice I said was frozen. These other choices down here don't make sense. I mean, you're printing the worksheets because you haven't counted anything yet. So why would you want to see actual counts and variances? Nothing's counted. But let's choose frozen. So now I'm going to click on preview. And again, I'm just going to get to a normal item so it's easier to see. Okay, so here we go. So we still have the same information, but now we have something additional. We have this column called frozen quantity. So this is what Counterpoint saw when we did the create step. This is how many Counterpoint thinks we have of this product at the very moment we did the create step. This is fine if you want to run your worksheets this way. I think it might lead to a little bit of cheating or laziness, but that's totally up to you. Or like I said, you could use pencil and paper. But a good argument for the worksheet is it does have descriptions. So if you're just using pencil and paper and writing down item numbers and you transpose a number, you might not be able to find that mistake. Okay, physical count enter. So when it comes to manually entering counts, a couple different ways to do it. One way is you could just free type the item number here, and then press enter. And then enter your count in the count quantity one field. If you are doing a manual inventory, you have a little bit of an advantage with these quantity fields because you can leverage these 6 different quantity fields. In this example, everything in count quantity 1 is on the floor for this item. And if this item is in the stock room, it goes in count quantity 2. And if I find this item on a display, it goes in count quantity 3. So I have one on display. At the end of the day, Counterpoint's going to add all this together. You can also put a counted by and count notes. So this is an advantage of manual inventory as opposed to imports or handheld devices. You can leverage all 6 of those fields. When you're done entering a count, you can either click on save, that'll save the count, and then click on the plus sign for your next one. Or you can click on an arrow. Anywhere in Counterpoint, if you are editing records, you can either save with the floppy disk or you can just click on an arrow and that'll auto save. And it also takes me to the next item. When it comes to entering counts, importing counts, handheld counts, whatever, do not ever use this button here at the lower right called post. Bad. I wish I could remove it because it gets a lot of people into trouble. If you click on that button, it means just post this one item. Just update the on hand for this one item. And here's the big problem with it. It mucks up reporting something terrible. But the other problem is if I count this item ADMTL5 in the front of the store and there's 3 and I post, my new on hand is 3. But then if I find it again in the back of the store, and this time I found 6 and I post, well, now my new on hand is 6. So the second posting overwrites the first one. So do not use this button. When it comes to gridded items, yes, I'm sure. It looks a little bit different. And when I say gridded, it's typically apparel. Some of you do have apparel. So that looks a little bit different as far as entering counts. So here's a gridded item. And notice I have this little checkbox here. Okay, so I can't put a count directly in this field. So if I click on this checkbox, now I can put a count every color and size. And if I don't have something like I don't have the medium hunter green, I don't need to put a 0 there. I'm just going to skip it. Counterpoint will treat that field as a 0 during posting. And I'll click OK. If you need to review a count for the gridded item, same thing. Or you need to correct a count, same thing. Find it, and then make the count whatever it's supposed to be. Okay, so that's manual. Another technique that you can use in manual entry, if you care to, is to actually come up here to the table view. And in the table view, you can have all your count quantity fields if you want to use more than one, but you can just go right down the line here and enter your counts. Now, it doesn't work for gridded items. You can't do counts for gridded items in here, but your normal items you can. And when you enter a count, notice how my floppy disk up here is lit up, but when I arrow away from the line, it autosaves. When it comes to 2B inventory, when you export your counts to Counterpoint, all the counts land in count quantity 1. So if I count 5 at the front of the store and export, and then I count 4 more on a later export, Counterpoint does math. All your exports from 2B land in count quantity 1. The same is true for spreadsheets and third party. Everything lands in count quantity 1. Counterpoint adds everything together for you. With CP Mobile, the first time you send scans and this item is in that scan, it goes to count quantity 1. If you find that item in another part of the store in a separate scanning round, the counts go to count quantity 2. If you find more in another part of the store and you export those scans, it goes to count quantity 3. That's CP Mobile only. And again, at the end of the day, Counterpoint adds everything together. I'm just going to go ahead and save. If you want to import a spreadsheet, or you have a third-party import from Regis or Washington, and remember, it doesn't really matter how you're doing the inventory, who's doing the inventory, just make sure that create step gets done. Please make sure that gets done. All right, so if you want to import a spreadsheet, you're just going to browse to the file that you scanned everything to. Yeah, I have something on my desktop I can use. We'll just use this one. Okay. Make sure you're in the right location. And then the field. There might be multiple fields on your spreadsheet. Item number, description, price, quantity. The same with your import files from a third-party company. All Counterpoint cares about is what position is the item number or barcode, and what position is the quantity. So let's think of an Excel spreadsheet. Column A, Counterpoint interprets as field 1. Column B is field 2. Column C is field 3, and on and on and on. So it's totally possible in your file you have the item number or barcode recorded in column B, which is field 2. And maybe you have the quantity in field E, which is field 5 for Counterpoint. And then you can verify it. The verify, depending on how much inventory you have, could go really quickly or really slow. But the verify will tell you any items that it has a problem with, something that it's going to reject. If you import and this shows up on your verify file, these items will be rejected on the import. Okay, and then of course you would import. Now again, no matter how you're doing the inventory, manual, handhelds, imports, at the end of the day, please run this edit list before you post. And it's super easy to run. You just click on the edit list. I recommend using this drop-down so you get a big picture, the snapshot, what we actually counted, the difference. Include uncounted items to make sure you didn't miss, huge sections of the store. Print the variances for the uncounted items, overages, shortages. and group it by category. So you can, if you see a category that has unusually high shrinkage, that might be a category you want to focus on as far as moving forward and preventing shrinkage in that category. So I'm just going to go ahead and preview. Okay. So you can see here's the item number. It happens to be a gridded item. And you can see here the frozen, the snapshots of 6 and 6 for each member of the style. But we haven't counted any of them. So let's get to a couple normal items. Here we go. So here's some normal items. Again, you see the snapshot, what was counted, and the variance. Now, I'm going to cheat a little bit with this report. I'm just going to say, only show me items I've counted. Yes, I know. Okay. So here we can see for the ADMTL2, the snapshot was 6 and we counted 5. And, you might say, well, that makes sense to me. I don't think there's anything unusual about that. But then you come down here to the hat, and you can see the frozen was 14. That snapshot was 14, and we only counted 2. Hey, that doesn't seem right. I could have swore I saw at least one hat on a display, and I thought I saw one in the stock room. So at this point, you send somebody out to recount that hat. Again, keeping in mind, it might be in more than one place. Now they come back and they say, hey, good eye, you know what? We don't have 14, but we have 13. So you need to correct that item. So we're going to go find the APL hat and change the 2 to a 13. So I'm just going to exit from here. You can run this report as much as you like. It doesn't change anything. It's just a report. So I'm going to find my hat and fix it. Okay. So you're going to change it to what you want it to be. And then save. Don't post, just save. Okay. Then it's time to post. Now, I have a philosophy about physical inventory. Do your create step, enter your counts or import, run your reports, make corrections, post and move on with your life. So in other words, it's December 1st. I don't want you calling me in February to help you troubleshoot a physical inventory file that you opened on December 1st and you haven't posted yet. Please. I'd like same day. All right. Now, if you're counting late at night and you really just don't want to post until tomorrow morning, before you open, that's perfectly fine. But please don't leave the file open days on end. You won't get an accurate count. All right, so physical count post. We're going to finalize the inventory. Once it's posted, it's a done deal. Check your location, leave the date alone, and then come down here. This is really important. Assume quantity counted is 0. And all that means is if there's a blank quantity field, treat it as a 0. And then you're going to post. And again, you're going to see a progress bar. Mine's going to go really, really fast. There it is. Yours will take longer because you probably have a lot more inventory than I do. But that progress bar is basically saying, here I am, updating your inventory based on the math I'm doing between the frozen and the variance to come up with your new on hand. For those of you that are closed during the inventory, you don't even have to think about that math. You can just be, you can rest assured that whatever you count will become your new on hand, regardless of the frozen. Okay, now here I'm being asked to run a report. I'm too tired. I'm going to run it later. So anytime you post anything in Counterpoint, it becomes part of history, including your physical counts. So Counterpoint never just, purges your history, unless you tell it to, which is not a good idea. To find your physical inventory report, go to Inventory, Reports, History, Physical Count History. Go to the event number lookup, and it will be the most recent event, the one at the top. You'll click OK. I like to group by category, and you'll preview. And it basically looks like the edit list. And it is. It's the same report. It's just the posted version. So that is physical inventory. Boring, but not hard. Let's go from here. So hopefully your takeaways today is that you have a good idea how to prepare outside and inside the software before you do the create step, how to actually perform the steps, whether you're doing manual, using handheld, importing, you know the basic steps. Create, enter, edit list, post, and how to report on the history. Next month, January the 5th, we're going to start off the new year with customer relationship management. I'm going to show you how to leverage some fields that are built into Counterpoint, but you probably don't see them because they need to be turned on. Something that a lot of people don't know is that you can have multiple shipping addresses associated with one customer record. I'll show you how to do that. And I get a lot of calls for people that want to export customer information, but they don't know anything about the data interchange. And frankly, I've got a better way. So I'm going to show you some simple ways to customize what's being exported and how to export. Pretty nice stuff.
Okay.
And of course, I always appreciate your feedback, suggestions. When you get your video, either Friday or Monday, there will be a survey attached. And it's just a 3-question yes/no type of survey. You can remain anonymous if you want. Or if you're so excited about this session, you want to take the survey now, just go to our website, www.cksystem, singular, cksystem.com/training bytes survey. And of course, if you want a customized training, give me a call at extension 3 or 413. Either one will work. And we can always set up an appointment that is custom to your business. So with that, I shall take questions. Let's see if we have any questions here. No questions. My morning group had tons of questions. I'll just give it a minute. Okay, I don't see any questions. Thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. Have a great holiday season, and hopefully I see. Oh, here's a question. Yay! Just in a nick of time. There's 2. Yay! What's happening when the progress bar shows an error on an item at posting? I actually have never seen an error in a physical inventory posting, but well, I take that back. I've seen errors in physical inventory posting when you choose skip instead of the assume quantity is 0. So if you choose skip, you're going to see plenty of errors. And that's because it doesn't like what you chose. And it's skipping items that you didn't count. Now, if you're talking about, let's see, if you're talking about posting point of sale, if you've got a problem with a ticket in point of sale posting, it rejects that ticket. Okay, you mentioned inventory being once or twice a year. Is there a benefit to doing it 4 times a year? Yeah, if you're a glutton for punishment. It's a good question. If you are having shrinkage problems and you need to narrow it down, you might need to do something more than once or twice a year. Or consider this. Once you get a couple of good wall-to-wall, and that's counting everything, you get a couple of wall-to-wall inventories, and you're pretty confident with the numbers because you've been spot checking here and there. So once you're confident with those numbers, then you want to analyze the report for the high shrink areas. Wow, our shrinkage in apparel was awful. Our shrinkage in shoes, off the charts. Our shrinkage in gifts. So then you might want to focus on what we call a cycle count, which you could do. I have some people that do them every week and every month for these high shrink areas. So that's what I would do, where you actually, during the create process, you filter for what you're actually going to count, your apparel category, or your jewelry, or your gift, or whatever it is. and then you count those items and post them. So that I see a benefit to once you've isolated high shrink areas. Good question. Does cycle count prevent shrinkage? Oh, wouldn't that be nice? You know, shrinkage is usually caused by, again, processing transactions incorrectly. You know, I meant to sell a bottle of water, but I sold a cup of coffee instead. That causes problems because the bottle of water walked out the door. The coffee got decremented. Okay. Um, Shrinkage is also a theft related. You know, I had 10 and somebody stole 6. So there's shrinkage right there. I'm missing 6. So yeah, cycle counting doesn't prevent it, but it can help you like narrow down why. Is it an external theft problem? Is it a process problem? Is it internal theft? So yeah, it won't prevent it, but I tell you what, if you do have a thief though, and that thief sees you counting once a month, it might be good preventative medicine. Uh-oh, they're looking. I better stop stealing. Okay, good questions. Okay, I don't see any more. I'll give it another second or so. Okay, everyone, thank you again for your time. Happy holidays. Talk to you in January. Bye bye. Oh, one more, one more. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. You're very welcome, Daniel and Rachel. You are very welcome. Oh, here's another question. If using Excel, if there are multiple instances of a barcode, ah, will Counterpoint add up each one of those quantities correctly? That's a very good question because that is possible. I have one item, my Hello Kitty Diamond Tiara, but I get it from 2 different vendors, so there's 2 different UPCs. You just put the UPC in separately. Counterpoint will add them all up together for you. Good question. Everyone have a great day. Thanks again.